What's up, guys?
Hello.
What's up,
How you
man?
doing?
Good.
Oh man, that hair's getting wild over there. What's going on?
I know I was trying to steal Jonathan Satava style, but
Yeah.
you know,
Uh, you might be topping John Zatava style now. His is getting all. He's starting to. I think he might be losing his hair. I shouldn't be saying that. So everyone wanted his hair, and now he's trying to keep it, but it's looking a little thin. I don't know. I don't know. What's been going on with you guys? Oh, sorry.
other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good, man. We're good. As good as it can be right now. Gym is closed, but we are trying to keep ourselves busy, trying to, like make sure we get other things
Yeah,
done.
Renato's training to be Tony Hawk right now.
I see that. I've been seeing that.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you got to try to find other things to keep yourselves occupied, right? I mean, what has your days kind of been looking like? Have you set kind of a schedule, or are you kind of just going with how you feel, or I don't know. What's your day been like during this time?
The first couple of weeks we were kind of just, or actually like the first month we just stayed at home. So I kind of was doing like workouts every day from home, like
Mm-hmm.
going on runs, and we were just going to the park like maybe once a week. And then in the last couple of weeks we started kind of training again. Like we have a group of friends that they all live together and they're quarantined together. So we've
Yeah.
been going like the last 2 weeks to train a couple of days, and then um, yeah, we've actually been, I've been keeping a pretty good workout schedule. Renato
Yeah.
too, but he now he's Tony Hawk, so he's every day at the skate park also.
Yeah, Racquel has been more active than me as far as like conditioning training, strength conditioning and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm missing a little bit the weights. I got. I guess I like doing weights, especially when I'm like right now. We're not training a whole lot. We don't have anything coming up. I just want to look a little
Yeah.
bit, try to take a little guy.
Yeah.
You know.
You're taking advantage of that. You're like, oh, if there's nothing going on, might as well just get bigger and stronger, right?
So that was my deal right off the beginning, and then I started training and I figured that I don't have all the weights necessary to do that, so I didn't just got kind of bored. So I've been riding my bike more. I've been going to skateboard now for the last 2-3 weeks. I think I've been skateboarding a lot. Before that, I was playing too much Call of Duty. I'm not gonna lie. I ended up getting caught up on the Call of Duty with a couple
Yeah.
people that I was doing the camp with. They all kind of started doing the same thing. So I finally turned off the video game. I was like, okay, I guess this thing is lasting longer than I expected for,
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're trying to work. We're trying to train every day a little bit, So we've been training almost every morning.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you guys kind of feel like in the beginning it was maybe a little hard to accept? Like even for me, I'm like, okay, this sucks, but I guess I'll kind of take it as like a vacation time, and eventually we'll get back. So like the first 2 days, I was like, I was probably doing what you guys were doing. Like I was just eating bad, kind of feeling sorry for myself and just, not being very proactive.
Yeah.
But now it sounds like you guys are like, okay, well, this is going on for a bit. So what can we do to adjust, trying to maintain the type of lifestyle, active lifestyle that we live, but with what we have available.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I can imagine it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone was like getting ready for the Pan Ams, so
Yeah.
it kind of was like almost like a death happened. And that's kind of how I felt. So that in the beginning, it was a little shitty. Like I've been working out every day anyways, but when it first like happened, I'm like, man, I feel like someone died. Like I was so excited for it. And I was trying to make lightweight too, so it was like
I was
cutting
gonna say.
all of that stuff, and then that happened. I'm like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, just
No, no.
everything kind of happened so suddenly. So yeah, the first couple of days, it was kind of like, it was nice to have that little break to kind of recover and stuff, but then it was kind of like really fast.
Yeah, it got old really fast. Like
Yeah.
just the idea that we don't have anything coming up.
Yeah.
It's not like I have to watch someone right now. It's not
Yeah.
not like I'm not doing it. I am doing it, But like, it's cooler when you have something to do. You have like some matches to study, like some things to fix. We're so used to organize our life around jiu-jitsu or like scheduling whatever is going to be the next class, and then when we have to leave for camp. So right now before Pans, I was in California training and getting beat up by all those boys that, like they always train super hard there together.
Mhm.
So every time I get there at first, I'm like, oh, that's a shock. And then
Yeah.
they'll go picking it up, and catching up to it. And then in the end, I was feeling really good. And then all of a sudden, it was like gone. So it was just a little bit weird, but I guess it's been good, man. It's been good. I've been figuring out a bunch of other things that I also like to do and that I would like to do. So trying to organize those things. You're trying to put a bunch of stuff together and ideas that we had. So we have a lot of plans for the future. You know, like I see a lot of people getting more active on other things right now.
Yeah.
With all that going on, so it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I've talked about this. I've always started off with this with everybody I've talked to, like kind of like trying to find the positive in it. How can we find ways to improve? I know, like I always read. There's a certain couple people that I follow that would kind of mention this, but I want to try to leave this time better than when I came into it. And for me, a big issue that I always noticed was like it was jujitsu or nothing. A lot of the times, I realized when I first got into it that training was about 90% of my life, and I'm like, man, what else can I do during this time? So that's why I had like those 2 days of like freaking out.
Yeah.
But I feel like for me, like I'm focused on on grip tape, on trying to promote it better, finding other ways to promote myself, staying active in other ways. I feel like I've gotten like in this time stronger. I'm able to work on my conditioning more. What are some things you guys feel like that when you get back to everything, you'd be like, hey, I really do feel like I've improved in this aspect of my life, where maybe if I was training and teaching full time, you wouldn't have the time to really like focus on that.
Yeah. Well, I can't keep still. Like I'm always doing something. So even in this quarantine, like the first couple of times we went to the park, we'd be sitting at the park and I'm like looking at my clock, like, man, like we need to go, because I'm so used to a schedule. But I think one of the biggest takeaways from this quarantine, because I think we're a lot like you, where actually like a couple of years ago I realized that there are other things that make me happy, but I just never have time to do those things. Like before, I feel like when I was fighting MMA or then Jiu-Jitsu was like, that's my whole entire life. And I was like, oh no, but now we have the dogs and we have the gym and I love being around the students and I like, I love just being a wife and all those other things make me happy, but our life is still largely Jiu-Jitsu or, I wanted to start fighting again this year, MMA, but then I think the biggest takeaway from it was just slowing down and enjoying my life because we're not going to be able to get these times back. So, we've been doing like just little things like walking our dogs more. Normally I'm just like, for a while we were living in a house. We actually, like the day we went into quarantine, we moved back to an apartment. So before we kind of just like let them out the back door and let them use the bathroom in the yard. And now we're like taking them to the dog park, taking them on longer walks. And it was like funny because my boy, we have a little micro bully, but he just started getting so ripped. Like he started getting so strong because we started taking him running and walking. Or run around the block with him. So I think that was one of the things that, and I got to try a bunch of new recipes. I love cooking and I never really baked. So I started baking a lot. And we're obviously most people know now we've been following a plant-based diet for almost a year. So I got to like learn more about that. So I got to just spend more time doing things that make me happy outside of jiu-jitsu and outside of
right now. Our schedule is always pretty busy, like as far as like training in the morning and then teaching in class. And lifting weights. And then we come back home and we have to take care of the dogs, organize everything at the house, eat, go back to the gym again. She does all the cooking, even though she likes to still like
it's
still tiring, it's extra tiring for her. So right now I've been happier. So she's been more active. I'm not being as active before in the beginning because I thought it was going to be just a short period and then back to it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna relax a little bit and get back. And then once I realized it was going to take too long, I started trying to do a bunch of other things, or I just explored like, okay, well, like you said, like so much of my life is jiu-jitsu. I was like, what else is there that I like? I guess what else is it? And then same thing they said, like I've been thinking more about, okay, how can I grow my how to promote ourselves better. What do we do to improve on that sense? So we've been putting a bunch of ideas together and talking about stuff, talking to people, and
we've been doing a lot of learning.
It's cool, man.
Doing a lot of learning in this time. We've been doing actually a lot. We've been learning about a lot of things, like, and we don't want to open our own gym soon. Like I want to open something of our own when I'm done competing and ready to just take care of that, and I'm almost there. I think in maybe like 2 years, but we just finally had some time to talk to people, like talk to different gym owners, what went wrong, what was good, what was bad, We have a friend that that's what he works with. So we got to sit with him and pick his brain about just like making a business plan. I asked a bunch of other people for their business plan so we could kind of look over and just like planning for the future, you know? So
Yeah.
We got to do a bunch of stuff. I can't think of everything right now, but we've been doing a lot of learning, a lot of, you know, just spending time being a little bit more happier. He's been riding his bike. I got him a bike a couple years ago for Christmas, a road bike. So he
Nice.
goes for like an hour and a half, rides all around. We actually live in a pretty cool area now, so.
Yeah, we are like, right, like we're in a cool area, but then we have like some super nice houses really close by. Like,
Yeah.
We live right outside of like the expensive area, you know, like there
Okay.
are neighbors, but we're not quite.
Yeah.
so
I remember.
Right on mentalize.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm gonna be here.
We're gonna buy a house here.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's been cool.
Yeah.
It's been different, you know, to be outside.
Yeah.
Like we're never outside because you live in the desert and it's always super hot or cold, you know. So we don't really do a whole lot of things outdoors. We will drive and go somewhere and do something, but we never go like
it's too hot to be
to
out.
run or for a walk or to the park. So we've been to the park so many times now just to work out, to do a bunch of different things, you know. Like we've been keeping ourselves busy.
Yeah,
so
we're pretty tan already. We're pretty
Yeah, I could see that. Well, you guys were always tan to begin with, I felt, but yeah, I could notice even more so. Yeah, that's not the same for me here. It's different in.
I have the
You got. I see that there. Nice. So I mean, I guess that you could see that as a good thing. Like you guys, you want to open your own gym someday, but that would be hard to do, especially at this time of year. Or it'd be hard to like learn the process of that, especially at this time of the year, because even after Pans, there's really not too much of a downtime after that. You know, there's a couple tournaments between that. I think Kasaya was planning on doing something, and then before you know it, Worlds is around and then you know what? It never really ends either. If you want, there's there's always the Kasai Super Fights, Fight to Wins. There's so many different things out there. So if you want to, we can answer questions later on if you guys want.
I know. I saw kids. I'm like, oh yeah. We were getting shit from Tanner last night. They were talking. Him and Tanner, was FaceTiming and. Tanner asked like 3 times, "When are you guys having kids? You guys should be working on it right now." I'm like, "No, not yet."
Goals first. You have other things to get off the checklist first.
Yeah, because once I have kids, I don't want to have to be in shape. Like I don't want to be like. Not that I don't want to. I would love to be like Karen, but like I want to just be a mom.
No way.
Just want to be a mom and hang out and not worry about having to compete.
So
she's just saying that.
What would be the goals before that? Like, what are the things like kind of like on your checklist to knock off before kids come along?
Obviously, I really want to win the world at black belt. That's my, in the gi. That's my everyone's, biggest, everyone's goal that does jiu-jitsu. And then I really, more than that, I really want to win ADCC.
Okay.
So now that we've been doing the plant-based diet, I was kind of in that weird place where it would be very hard for me to make 132, and I'm way too small to do over 132 because I'm like right at 140, but I'm not that. I'm like to make 32 would be very hard. So now that we're on the plant-based diet, my body's been changing. So I think by next year for the 132, I can make that unless they add a third division, which they were talking about. So I really want to do those 2 things and. That I still do want to fight MMA too, so we'll see.
Yeah. So I guess through MMA, have you always kind of like just gravitated a little bit more towards no-gi? Of course, you've done great in the gi, but like you say, like ADCC is kind of the biggest one. I get some people and I ask them, like I put them on the spot, ADCC or Worlds, and everyone's like, so a lot of people say Worlds. If you were to choose one or the other, I mean, I don't want to do that to you, but I'll do that to you anyway. Is no-gi always been kind of a little bit more of your thing?
I actually enjoy the gi more, and winning the things in the gi would still be more important to me. But I think that I'm enjoying doing no-gi so much more right now. I've been doing so many no-gi camps, and I think another part of it too is like because we opened our gym, and we don't really have we have primarily beginners, and like the people we used to train with, we don't train with them much anymore. Like so we don't have that many training partners here in Las Vegas to train in the gi with. But then, like, the people we train no-gi with, it's so much fun. And it's just, like, a different vibe. So I think that I've just been happier training no-gi lately. So we train a lot with, like, this one guy that he teaches at one of the 10th Planet gyms. But the culture here for the 10th Planet gym is a little bit different. because they have a lot of the MMA fighters and stuff. So when you go there, it's like a lot of wrestlers and, you know, like professional fighters, amateur fighters. So we go on Sundays to the open mats, and they'll have like 60 to 80 people come through there.
Wow.
And it's just nonstop rounds. So we just get to get different looks, and it's always like an exciting, oh, who are we going to get today? You know,
yeah.
So I think that's why I'm kind of more excited about training Nogi right now.
Yeah. So with your, it's not your gym, but with your gym, have you guys kind of had to like, kind of finagle your training to get good training partners along the way? It's not just like at your place, but you have to go to different places. Do you go to other places besides 10th Planet, or you go to Checkmat before the big tournaments? But what else do you guys do to kind of make your training work? I was going to ask about balance, but we can do this.
We have open now for like a year. So in the very beginning, we had bands last year to go. And then we just had open like in beginning of February. So we would have to do the camp right there, like since we were just opening.
Come here, guys.
But we used to train more with Roberto and Mikey back then. But I think around that time, they were all like kind of going to different camps. Where Roberto was going to Lucas, Mikey was going to Cartera, and we were staying at the gym. So we ended up bringing some people around. Like we tried to help like 2 boys that we know that were going to come either way to compete, and then help them with expenses, and like found them a place to stay and sponsored some sponsor for food and stuff. And then we tried that, and then it was cool, it was fun. But then towards everyone was a little bit more busy, so we were kind of going more to Checkman and coming back. But as far as like training, finding training, like we always have like, we don't have a whole lot of people, but we always make it work on the sense of like how we put the training together. And I've been learning how to train and how to make it harder for myself, or we will call like, and then close competitions, that's the cool thing too. We have a bunch of friends who always come around to support us, but mainly are like wrestlers or people who also train in the gi, but they were like, back in the day, they were like really good wrestlers, and nowadays they fight MMA, but they're also black belts in Jiu-Jitsu, so all these people will come and like help us at training, but
it's been hard. It actually, I always think like last year Renato did so, like he still got second at the Pan Ams and third at the Worlds. I'm like, God, if people even knew how we were training, like we're training like white belts and masters that like don't compete at all, or so our training for the last couple of years has been pretty, not even hit or miss. It's been a lot of miss, but we just figure it out, like we like I said, we figure out how to make it harder for us. Like, okay, we're gonna stay 15 minutes in the middle and put somebody in every 2 minutes. Or whatever it is, or sometimes it's just me and him training with each other. Like I'm not the best training for him, but I know his game, so I can try to stop whatever I know he's gonna do, or I just gonna give my whatever best that I can to him,
Yeah, it's her, and this one other friend that I have from Del Planet too. He's my weight, pretty much my size. Moves a lot too. He's very agile, so we will watch stuff together, and we always try to adapt for each other to how we're training and how we're putting each other in certain positions. And then we will drill way more, not drill, but like we will study a lot of like, okay, so this guy's really good at doing this, or what could I do from here? So we spend some time doing that, and then I practice a lot on top of those things, So it's more like a mentalization kind of thing. That's why it's cool for me now that we're doing the super fights. It's not as hard as training for the gi, like big tournaments, because then you know who you're going to face. You have so much people to see, so you're really trying to get your jiu-jitsu much better. While we in the super fights, I got to experience like the idea of I'm getting prepared to fight these guys good games, and seeing where is the openings on their games, so it got me a little bit smarter. It got me to learn more. Before, when I was younger, I would study just because I wanted to learn. And nowadays I don't do as much, but now I'm learning by studying the people who I'm going to fight against, So it's pretty cool. You get to learn a lot on like what they're good at. So I'll end up using right after the camp. I'll end up using a bunch of things of people that I was going to fight. I watch them doing,
Yeah. So I can imagine that it has its positives in its own way, where it's like you have to force yourself to kind of train smarter. It's like, all right, maybe I'm not going to get the super hard rounds that I want to, but I'm going to learn a lot more. I might be able to open my game up more. I might, you know, be able to do different techniques or work different things and kind of build that up against the better guys.
Yeah.
Like even Marcelo had a talk with us about that. He's like, okay, you know, sometimes it's cool for us to just go head to head with all the black belts, and you could do that for a period of time. But sometimes you're not really. It might make you tough, but you're not really improving in any way. You're kind of so you're there's always something positive to get out of it. Like your technique is probably becoming better in that way as well. You're kind of being more open-minded, and you're finding different ways to be creative in training. So I think that can have its positives for sure.
I always think too, like when you go to California, I always enjoy it and I absolutely love it. I love how I feel after. It's just like, oh, like just completely dead. And I'm like, I couldn't feel like this every day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to. I would be broken.
You wouldn't be healthy, you know, like it's not like they get hurt, but like, cause they're all young, so they're used to it. They're all training like that, and I think it's super cool. I used to do that a lot, and but since I moved here, like I still haven't find like a place where, I mean, actually when we were training all together a while back, it was actually getting better when it was me, Roberto, Mikey, Racquel, Tammy, and they had like a bunch of other people like Renee, all those guys who trained together. It was cool. It was actually pretty cool. But they only lasted like so long where everyone was together, you know?
Yeah.
But so what I'm trying to say is like, we literally, I had to learn for real, like how to figure out training. Cause I moved here looking for training, looking for, you know, looking for someone to help me to adjust details. Cause I wasn't doing too great in the lower ranks, you know? And I was like brown belt, and I'm like, okay, I want to be a world champion. And now I'm already at brown belt. I still didn't win on the belts before that. But then the more I tried, the more I feel like life put me in situations where I had to learn from it. So I just kept getting better and better at figuring out how to, you know, like I learned so much by getting wrong, and I learned so much by studying so much. I had to go out of my way to figure out like, okay, I need to learn from somewhere else. I need to find somewhere else, because I don't have nobody right there giving me answers, you know. Which is super cool to go to California and experience that when you're there. Because like anything that Leo shows, like usually on top of a concept. Like I've watched a couple of Marcelo Garcia videos, especially right now when everything stopped. And the way that he teaches the stuff is pretty cool, man. Like how to use concepts and how they explain little stuff. I was seeing the thing that he was explaining with the belt. Right?
He
does
some interesting things,
these things, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's so cool. Like they already got used to like very simple concepts that they use all around. They will do the same thing on top, bottom, standing, and over again. They, you know, like, so those things have helped me a lot. Teaching also, we have to focus on what what we do. What is it really that I do here, and how can I explain this better to someone who is not as athletic as me? Who is not, you know. So now you're actually talking about the details of things that we do. So when I'm doing it, it's not anymore just kind of following a flow. I'm actually checking myself, like, okay, you know, like let's say I'm attacking the back, like I control the sit down, I control the far leg, you know, like everything is like check. Okay, so you know, I'm actually getting more technical with my own game. I'm perfecting my own game. You know?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but it's fun, man. You always will figure it out. If you like jiu-jitsu, you find a way. You know, if you want to succeed, you find a way. It's easier to find an excuse of why I can't do this, you know, it was easier for us to just try to take a break, but we just couldn't. We were still young, and we still have like so much that we want to do, and it's good. It's good fun.
Yeah. Do you feel like teaching in its own ways has helped you? Well, I think you already kind of answered this, but you feel like teaching in its own ways has helped you improve? For me, like I noticed, I don't get to teach as much as you guys. You guys have a place to teach. I kind of just freelance whenever I teach privates and some seminars. But I noticed that like if I'm explaining a certain thing like over and over and over again, and then going over details when I'm walking around to the students, I kind of understand. Like sometimes I'll do something and I'll know it, but I'm not really sure like why I'm doing it or why it works so well. But the more I kind of break it down into details, the more I'm like, oh, I understand why I'm doing this now, because the guy's resisting this way or that. You kind of just, the more you kind of explain it to other people, the more it kind of even makes sense to you. Where instead of just kind of doing it because it works, I know exactly I'm doing it because of, you know, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
You would be very surprised. I mean, not very surprised. I think because of the way Renato's fights, People would probably be very surprised to hear that he's so detailed. Like, and I always think, like, to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, he just jumps all over the place. I'm like, man, to be able to jump all over the place and actually land there, or, you know, it's all technique, it's timing, it's knowing where you have to be. Like, he's so technical. Like, he can explain every detail, and he always talks about how Kavaka used to teach like that. So that's why he likes to teach like that too. It's like, he doesn't want you to, like, he doesn't want you to leave the circle thinking like, oh, but what if they did this, or what happens if they do this? Where I'm very opposite of him, where it probably is similar to what you were explaining, where I don't, like, I'll do a bunch of stuff, and I was just like, how did you do that? I'm like, oh, do what? I don't know what I did. You know, like, that's
yeah.
I'm very much like movement. I can move, but I don't really know what I'm doing, you know? So teaching helped me a lot. And I feel like in the last year, my game grew so much because now I'm understanding what I'm doing. And then also, like how he was talking about how Leo teaches in concepts. I'm like, okay, well, I do this, so I can apply this to this, and I can apply this to here. And I think even just listening to him teach more too, it helped me a lot, because now I'm like, I can do all the things that he's doing with what I'm doing, you know. But yeah, it helped me a lot. I could never understand what I was doing. He'd always be like, how did you learn that? How did you do that? I'm like, I don't know what I did.
It's more natural to you, maybe. Yeah.
Where her body's at, how she places her body weight. Like,
yeah.
I'm so tall standing, you know, like with my long legs. So I'm always moving a lot, but I'm still too far to get the side control. Like, my way is way longer, right? She will pass pressure passing super low, wait for you to react, and then when she switches, even when she switches sides, has no space. It's like too late to move away, you know. So I've been learning a lot by watching her, by trying to coach her for this last season now for no words and stuff. I didn't compete, she competed. So by watching and paying attention on what she does, I actually started like trying to do more on mine, because there's a lot of things that I will even teach or talk about, you know, like, but it's things that I'm teaching. It's not things that I will use in a competition. Like, it's not my A game, so I'll leave as a plan B, you know. So that's what I've been trying to do too since I started teaching, like getting more comfortable and doing things that I wasn't doing anymore in competition. I wasn't choosing to do, you know. I feel like we know so much, or you learn so much, and you practice so much at the gym. But then when you get to tournaments, at least me, like, I'll shut myself on like only those couple things that I know for sure I'm good at and I can hit it and don't mess it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's hard in that sense. Like, but now I've been trying to press more, like Raquel, pass more of pressure, trying to make sure my hips are always low, and just changing those things. Trying to play way more guard. I'm trying to get back on playing guard in competition. And for me to get competition and do it, I've already been doing this really well at the gym and very comfortable with it. So for a very long time, I've noticed that everything I was focusing on, which was learning wrestling, learning judo, learning how to pass guys with great guards, like all of that took a lot of time on my game. But then I kept pushing my guard to like, it's okay, I'm gonna get back to it later. Because back to purple belt in the beginning, I used to play a lot of guard, you know, and that's all I would do. I would just poop, super fast, try to do berimbolos. I was getting good at it. I'm not near as good as the guys nowadays with all the crab ride transitions and all of that, but I'm catching up to it now that I'm studying again, you know, studying more on top of it. But it's fun, man. Not as good as you, basically on the berimbolo side, but it's cool, man. It's a fun world when you change your game, you know, like being able to do that. I feel like, especially because we are still young and we have time to decide, like, what is it that we want to do? What is it I want to be great at?
Yeah. Well, I wonder if you guys have felt this, but I felt like I need to change things up sometimes. Like, even after a while, like doing berimbolos just wasn't so much fun anymore, you know, because all right, I could pull a guard, I could do a berimbolo, I could take the back, but after a while, like it starts becoming like too much of a job if you just stick with doing the same thing all the time. And I would start feeling burnt out. I'm like, man, this is not fun anymore. You know, I want to open my game up. I can't imagine someone that just does the same three things all the time. So that you know, keep things new, keep things fresh, you know, or else things kind of start, you know, kind of dying a little bit. I did want to ask about like how your game developed a little bit, but Raquel, I wanted to ask, since you kind of answered part of the question I was going to say, what have you two kind of like learned from each other? Because you both sound like you have very different games, like where Raquel, you're more pressure, and Renato, you're more jumpy. I don't know if you like to call it jumpy, but it is a little jumpy. What do you feel like, Raquel, what do you think you've kind of taken from his game into your own? I know he says he's been working on pressure, but what do you think you've been able to kind of adapt from him?
His movement. So oddly, I've been able to still pass with pressure and being able to move. Like, okay, maybe I'm trying to pass with pressure here and they react this way and switching sides. Like, I feel like before I would just keep, like, say I'm stuck in half guard and I'm on top. And I'm just going to keep trying to knee cut, keep trying to knee cut. Now I have like a bunch of different options of switching to the other side or bringing the legs to this side and switching to the other side. So I think I practiced a lot of his movement. And one thing that I think that has been vital to like the past, like this past year or so, was just like he openly talked about how his dad was a referee and he knows like he's very strategical in the way that he fights and how he understands the competition aspect of jiu-jitsu, and I think that that's helped me a lot. So just knowing like as far as competition wise, like it's made me much smarter, you know. So even when I'm training, not that I'm thinking about like counting points or stuff, but just little like small things. Like there's times like he's left out of town and I'm stuck there teaching by myself, and like there was one day that the morning class was small, but I have a brand new white belt that's 255 pounds and I have a visiting black belt. You know, so I'm like, I'm the only person who can hold down the fort. So I'm like, okay, now how am I going to train this black belt and how am I going to train this 255-pound guy? You know, so it just made me much smarter. Where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go pull guard on the crazy new white belt or just go and try to, you know, like I don't know what the black belt has to offer. So it's just made me much smarter in my choices, and I think that also carried over to competition.
Yeah. I can imagine, like, or I've also noticed just for myself that just being as well diversified as possible is super important. Because I remember for me, like, I had a period of time when I think it was like a couple of years ago where I felt so comfortable with knee cuts as well, and that was my thing. And then as soon as a guy knew how to kind of handle that, I was like, shit, now what do I do? You know, so then you start developing a little pressure passing or having more options to the other side and just opening yourself up and trying to be more open-minded. I used to have like shutters where I wouldn't really look like, and I would look at one option and I'd probably be missing another three. So I can imagine having Renato around kind of helps, and for both of you, just helps kind of like diversify yourself. So one thing's not working, you're not just sticking with that one thing and living and dying by it, but you can, you have the ability to kind of make the adjustments when needed.
I always like, I've been training now for like 7.5 years. I got my black belt kind of fast. It was pretty fast. So when I'm in a circle of people, I still feel very new to jiu-jitsu. But in the last 6 months or so, maybe like, you know, since we started teaching, I was like, man, I do have a lot to offer to him, but I'm always so shy because I just think that he's like this. Like I said, like anybody who ends up spending time with him and talking about jiu, he has so much jiu-jitsu knowledge and he's super technical. So like I never want to say anything, but then I feel like it's only us two, you know, most of the time, unless we go to California, then he'll have Leo there and everyone else. And I also know his game the best. I know what are his strengths. I know other things that he needs to work on. So I think like it's nowadays I'm also having a little bit more confidence to try to help him. You know, sometimes I'm still like, oh, can I say one thing? Like, you know, all walking like this to the group to tell him. But I think like now I'm being a little bit more vocal. So it was super cool when he started training again. I saw him passing the pressure and I was like, I'm a proud wife right now.
I can even imagine like the reason why he would be so technical and so talented is because he's able to learn from everybody as well. I feel like the people that, you know, are very kind of like restricted with the people that they would learn from, like, you know, I don't believe in this person's game or whatever, you know, that's the person that's not going to be as well diversified, open, and probably not have as much success. For me, I always felt like even like I can learn stuff from my purple belt training partners, my blue belt training partners. You know, there's always something that you could pick up from someone. I mean, so yeah, it sounds like you guys are on the right track at that, but yeah, keep giving advice. You know, I'm sure.
I feel like everyone learn a little bit differently in jiu-jitsu, or like we'll teach a little bit differently because I don't know, every person that I talk, like they're paying attention on different things. Like some people are paying attention on their reaction, which I feel like is my case, and I'm always fighting on top of like trying to attack and see which reaction they give me, and I'll work with that. depending
Yeah.
on the reaction, move to the next move. And then some other people are just like Raquel, like she just go by feeling, like she knows how to go shutting down every option that you have, like to try to defend anything, you know. And then I'll talk to Leo, and then he will teach some stuff like so much more simpler than I ever thought. And then, you know,
And it works so
so it
well.
makes
Yeah.
sense, and I'm like, what? How? I never thought of that, you know. So it's
Yeah.
true, like you're not just learning, like you said, like I'll learn a lot. So I learned a lot from blue belts. I learned from my white belt a bunch of brain bolo stuff because they used to train with the hours back in the day. And that guy explained to me so much things when I saw him. So that's what I'm saying. Like you can always get to learn something. It's not. Yeah, I'll never try to stop you from saying anything. You know, it doesn't matter the person's belt. If they're trying to teach me something,
it can be like a white belt that has wrestling experience.
Yeah.
Like if they teach something to him, he'll always listen.
Yeah, I will never be like, oh, I know that one. You know,
Yeah.
I know that one. Like
You can never just shoot down anything. You gotta be open. You gotta be open-minded as much as possible.
Yeah,
but you were talking a little bit before. And I'm getting better at these interviews. I'm always trying to keep in mind of like things I want to come back to. I'm getting good, right? It took me a week of like I'm like, this is flowing well. I didn't have to write anything down today. Usually I have like nothing. I have no notes on this today. But you were talking about how like when you're at purple belt, you're like kind of doing a lot more guard, a lot more barambolos. And I'm trying to tie this into a comment someone made here as well. Kind of what was like kind of like the shift to kind of become more of a passer, more of like a movement type. I don't know how you want to call it, your style of passing, but what was kind of like, what kind of made you make that change? Or was there something, a match or someone told you, or whatever you think it could be?
It was a couple of things. I mean, I feel like I always stick for knowledge as far as like what people think and how do they feel. Like I'm into like not motivational videos, but like what is it that people are thinking when they're doing certain kind of stuff. And a lot of people I remember like would talk like a lot of the things I would end up on would be like working out of your comfort zone. And I felt at a certain point I was very comfortable with what I was doing because for so long I was building up that style of, you know, like, and then in competition, like the same thing that's happening right now with the guard, like I didn't want to really play top game right off the bat. I wanted to play guard for half the match so I could, you know, like try to work from there. Start from the bottom for sure so I can start sweeping, and then if he sweeps me back, it's okay, it's even. But then I didn't, you know, like I don't know, I feel like it was, okay, my back was kind of messed up at a certain point. My lower back was getting very, I had to do what they call physiotherapy on top of it. So what they explained to me is that the cartilage, because of the whatever movements I'm doing, it was almost gone. I guess like the sacral on the lower back was almost like touching, you know. So I was like, okay, but reasons why, like nowadays I understand better. Like if you see a person playing guard inverted and carrying someone over and picking and pulling them over and over again towards your hips, it can't be good. Like you lift weights, like, and they will explain stuff to you, and everything has high posture, and your back is always like this. It's never like that. You know what I'm saying? Why when you're doing berimbolo, you're always like that. So I was always messing up my back. I would always end up messing up my knees by trying to do too much twister hooks. You know. So those things, and then also because I'm a big fan of Jiu-Jitsu, of watching Jiu-Jitsu, and I feel like when I was around purple belt, like Leandro was killing at passing, you know, it just looked so cool. And it's something that I always kind of tried to learn, and I wasn't bad at it, but I wasn't great too, you know. So once I decided, like, okay, I want to get really good at passing, I think was that, like, with my second year of purple belt, and then I started just trying to learn from these guys on my gym that did judo before, so they helped me with takedowns, and then same thing again. It just got fun again. I stopped watching so much Rafael Mendes and the Mio brothers, and I turned to Leandro, and now, you know, like all the other guys that I wanted to learn from, and that's what I always do. And I don't know if it's the smartest thing ever, but it's definitely fun. I don't know if it's smart as far as like if I have a competition goal, like if I had one game, I probably would be doing better in competition as far as like Michael Lange with his spider guard, you know, like he's great at what he does. So it's super see guys who are so good at something. But I always wanted to be good everywhere, and I could never like accept being good only one thing. I had to get better, like, and that's what's going on right now. I'm like, come on, you gotta pull more guard. You gotta be comfortable with it. You know, comfortable with the idea.
Yeah.
When you're not doing something competition, you're scared you're gonna try and you're gonna mess it up. You know. So I'm trying to get back at it. Cannot wait for the competitions to come back so I can do more opens and try to, you know, practice stuff because I haven't done this in a while now.
Yeah. So I mean, you're able to like adapt that in training and kind of work a new game. But what? Let me try. Now that I said I was a good interviewer, I'm messing up on the question. What did it take for you to get comfortable doing that in competition? Because it's one thing to kind of play your game.
Sorry. That's why I was watching. So me too.
Because he always talks shit about Renato. So yeah.
Because he's
I know. I
can't wait.
We can't give him that attention. We can't give him
Yeah, I know
attention.
exactly what I thought, but I can't wait to trip that guy when I see him. He better not come close to me. You know, he might accidentally fall down the stairs at the pyramid. We think you're funny. You're young. But yeah, not too much attention. But there was a question though. Somebody wanted to know if you were sponsored by Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah,
well, everyone has those Jesus patches. Everyone has those Jesus patches.
I had some Jesus patches.
What were those actually? I never got my hands on one, but we're like, what company was that?
Dude, I'm not sure who started this thing.
That was him.
Who gave me one was probably like a friend or something like that. But I remember it was the coolest thing, you know. But the same
That's
thing.
Cool.
And like so growing up, at least back in the days, like you would watch all these guys with the corralgis, right?
Yeah.
Patches all over, like all over.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like that growing up. I wanted patches everywhere. And the Jesus patch was an actual one, you know what I'm saying? And that would make me feel like I was armored with Jesus. It made sense when I was younger. It made much more sense, you know? And even to today, if I was someone going to church a whole lot and I want to share, like, I think school it is what it is, you know? I haven't got any Jesus patches for a while now.
We ruined your question, though. What was your question?
I don't remember. No, I actually wanted to say something. I remember like I think it was like the trend has changed with the patches. Like everyone wanted to look like the NASCAR driver with like all the different patches. I had a phase like that as well, where like if someone would just give me a free patch, I would wear it. Now I think the look is like keeping it like simpler. Even for me, there was a guy who he took Marcelo's picture at ADCC in like 2011 when Marcelo finished the guillotine, kind of like one of Marcelo's signature pictures. The guy owned New York Pizza. He sold like his dough to Costco. So I remember we became friends with him, and he gave me a New York Pizza patch. So I was wearing like everyone had Jesus sponsor. I had a pizza sponsor. But I mean, he was just giving me the patch. But I'm like, I'll take it. It's another patch to wear. It looks super cool. You know, fueled by pizza. I love that. Yeah, no, I remember that phase. I guess I was just asking. Damn it, kid! I completely forgot what the question was. Now, we were talking about. So, when did you like get comfortable, you know, implementing a different game, you know, with passing in competition? Because it's one thing to do it in training, but it's another thing to be like, I'm going to do this basically full time in competing. Did there take like a couple competitions to feel comfortable? Or you just get into such a good habit of passing and training that it just comes naturally in competition. That make sense?
Yeah, I guess. You say like to change the game. When I change the game. Like,
yeah. You could do it in training, but when did you start feeling comfortable doing it in competition? There we go.
I feel like when I was younger, it was less scary, the idea of it. Like the idea of trying to change my game against a top 5 guy on like, you know, in my head count like a top 5 guy in my weight division is much higher than it was back then when I was a purple belt and I was fighting almost every weekend with always different people. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like always the same people. So I was going there without really knowing what to expect. So I was just trying stuff. But it definitely took a while for me to get comfortable with the idea. So what I would do in the beginning was I would try to pull and sweep really fast, so I could start trying to work on my passing.
Okay. Yeah.
And then a couple of things that helped me too was like a couple of details of, so because my dad was a ref and because Kavaka used to work so much on training, specific training with point system and all of that, and he had a bunch of little details that he would explain on how to do not let the guy like come up, because to sweep is not only like making you fall, and is also being able to get up. So I started learning how to control the bottom pants whenever I was getting like swept in the X guard or whatever, So those things would keep me safe. Like I learned how to catch balance first before I was passing everyone's guard and doing, cooler stuff. And then, and then after that, I think was just, I was just doing a lot in the gym. I just kind of like, I started liking so much. I thought it was so much more fun after I changed it. Not that it is, but like at the time it was so much more fun because I was doing something different now. And
yeah, it keeps it fresh.
Well, yeah, when I was younger, I was smaller than most of the guys in the gym. They're all big and stronger than me, so they all tried to squeeze me, and it was fun for me to be flexible and get out of the way and end up on their back. It was super fun, It was cool. It was like Jiu-Jitsu works. You don't need strength. But then as you get older, you want to kind of give back a little bit. I feel like you want to smash someone too. You want to put a little bit of pressure on someone.
Yeah, it feels good to make them break. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, okay, now is the comeback. I'm gonna twist you too. So that I feel like that's what I started feeling like more. Like I started having more fun with it because now I was like, okay, I don't need to be super strong, but I'm fast. So how can I put my speed with my passing? So I was a lot of changing sides and all those things. And then we did so much drills on speed drills, like just passing over and over again, like big long back steps and falling on the side and coming right back to the other side, like all those things that nowadays is like an older style of drilling and then it is the things of today. But those things I enjoyed so much because I would get my heart beat like, and then I wanted to do more than everyone, so it was fun. It was and then all of that went adding up to my game.
So just the more you put yourself in the position, the more just comfortable you felt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like everyone was following kind of what I was doing too, my friends. So they were all getting good at guard too. And then now when I started passing, they had good guards for me to work with. So it was always fun.
Yeah, I kind of felt like when I would start passing more, I was like, man, I know this guy's got a good guard. I want to try to pass it. It's almost like a test. It's like, why avoid what the guy's good at and try to force him into your game? Sometimes you just, especially when you're training, like, all right, I want to see how I can do from this guy's strong spot.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's nothing like passing somebody's guard and just. I always go to the side of like, I get the Leandro against Keenan. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Like for me, like sweeping someone is just not as satisfying, as passing someone for sure. Of course, it's 3 points to 2, but I love that pass. Yeah.
Sweeping was, that's what I'm saying. When I was competing, sweeping was always fun. But when I started passing, I just felt like it was so much more dominant when you get someone's side and you stay there, or like you would open so much more. I don't know, just new options.
Yeah, in the training, I always like why like I rather get submitted in the training. I would feel less bad if I get tapped than if I get my guard pass. And it's not even like guard is like my best thing, but I'm so good at just like making sure you don't get to my side. Like when you get to my side, it just feels so small. Like girl,
that's my thing with flow roll. People are like, oh, that's flow roll, and then they pass their guard, and then a flow roll. I like
flow rolls over.
Sweep.
Yeah. You gotta have a balance there.
Yeah. Dude, you pass my guard.
Flow roll is done.
Raquel, I wanted to ask you a little bit since I asked Renato a little bit about background. For me, I was always like really slow at developing. It always took me like time to get good at anything. But you came up through the ranks like really fast, and you were already doing really well at the highest ranks. If you had like a few things that you feel like was important for like that quick development, what would you attribute that to?
I actually started as a wrestler, so I wrestled in like 10th, 11th, 12th, 1 year in college, and then I started fighting MMA. But I think like I've never been the best in the room, but I work very hard. I think that just and also in the beginning when I actually started training jiu-jitsu because to supplement my MMA game, right? So I had lost a couple of fights and they were all by submission because I wasn't training any jiu-jitsu really. Like I was doing like some stuff for MMA, but like I wasn't dedicating any of my time to like grappling or to, you know, submission wrestling, whatever you want to call it. But the gym that I was training at, ironically, was a jiu-jitsu school. So my coach at the time in Hawaii, he was like one of the best black belts. I still feel that he is in Hawaii. So he was like, look, you're going to put the gi on for 1 year. You're just going to train jiu-jitsu. And I was like devastated. I was like, no, you know, but then after a couple of months, I just fell in love with it. And I ended up doing the trials. They had that year was the only year they had a trial to go to the World Pro in Hawaii. So I ended up winning the trials as a white belt to win the white and blue ticket. And I went to Abu Dhabi and I saw from close how big jiu-jitsu was. So I was so motivated.
She didn't know that it was for the ticket. That is the best part. She was a white belt, blue belt, and then she got to go to Abu Dhabi, but she didn't know that was the deal.
Yeah. That's a nice surprise.
Yeah. I think I just saw from close how big jiu-jitsu was. And like I was watching Bushesha and all these people fight, and at the time I had no clue jiu-jitsu was that big. So that really motivated me to get better at jiu-jitsu fast. So I ended up going to the Worlds that year. I was training for maybe like 6-7 months. I ended up getting a bronze at the Worlds. And that really like, okay, maybe I'm actually not too bad at this, you know? So I started training like every day, twice a day. And that's kind of how I was able to get through the ranks quicker. It's obviously my other background, but I was training every day, twice a day, like Monday through Friday. I ended up changing my job to be closer to the gym. And I actually started working part-time because that was the only thing available at that place. So I moved my schedule from 1:30 until 6:30 when it closed, because it was like the training started at 11. So I could train from 11 to 1, drive real quick to work. And then once work was done, I could run over and train again. So I was doing that every single day for like, I don't know, a long time, until I moved and I started training here in Las Vegas at Roberts. And I was doing the same thing. I was like primarily here for MMA, but at the same time, I was training jiu-jitsu, same thing, twice a day. I think for most of blue to brown belt, you know, so I think like that was how I was able to kind of like come to the ranks quickly. And I think I'm just very mentally strong. I think that I just work super hard.
Yeah,
you know? So it's like I've never been the best in like the fact that I'm even like able to be athletic nowadays is insane. Like I was like growing up, my parents didn't let me play sports because I was so unathletic. So I just worked very hard. Like
she's very disciplined, definitely.
Yeah.
It's something that helped me a lot too, like getting here. Before, for me, discipline was just train as much as you can, train morning, afternoon, and night, you know. And then after meeting her, it was like, okay, it has a diet side. There is a sleeping side, you know. Like there is like a bunch of little things, like being there earlier instead of being on time or being late. I would be there to get there like 1 hour before to drill, you know. So all those things end up adding up like good habits, you know, which help you in the long term. You can see right now, and it may be boring, like I'm doing all this extra stuff and extra work, but in the long run, it was super helpful for us. So yeah.
So hard work pays off, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you're almost like forced to work hard if you feel like things don't come as naturally. You know, some people it might be a little bit easier for them to kind of sit back and just kind of off of natural talents. But if you feel like you didn't have that to begin with, and you feel like you have to push yourself even more so.
Yeah.
Was that kind of like a little bit of the case, or you were saying?
Like, it's so funny. Like if you meet like my oldest sister, she's super smart, very artistic, like I was very much middle child. My brother was like honor roll student. Like right now, he's like one of the highest ranking like that you can be in the military. He was a starting middle linebacker on a full ride scholarship at Oregon State. My youngest sister is like absolutely gorgeous, and I was very much the middle child. I wasn't good at anything. I wasn't stupid, but I wasn't dumb. Like, but even in school, like I would read things and I wouldn't really understand it, but I would study very hard. So I still got good grades, and I still got, you know, for the most part, straight A's. But I don't, like, you ask me about it now and I don't remember anything, you know? So I remember like maybe like 3 or 4 years into fighting MMA, I was talking to my trainer at the time, my strength trainer, and I was like, man, I'm just not athletic. And he's like, what do you mean you're not athletic? Like, you are so athletic. And I'm like, No, I'm not, because in my head, I'm still that person that has to keep working hard and working. I was like, no, I'm not athletic. Like I just work hard. I just work hard. I'm not athletic, but it was like having to change that mindset for me also, I think, contributed to me starting to do better too, because I never saw I still see myself as what I was before. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
And now I'm
Yeah,
like,
you're just not never satisfied with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
like no, I am a high level athlete, and I am athletic, and I am a good competitor, and so I had to kind of like change my mindset to think differently of myself as well. So I think that also helped.
Nice.
I think I got
So
back on that one.
no. That was good. That was very good. So we have 3 minutes left. I didn't.
Okay.
Instagram cuts us off after an hour.
Okay.
I wanted to. We've been talking a lot of serious jiu-jitsu stuff. So our social team, our social media member person here sent me a bunch of random questions that I think would be just kind of fun to end off with.
Okay.
See what you guys think.
Okay.
I haven't read these yet, so I'm just gonna. What's been the worst advice you've ever been given?
Hey,
Dang.
worst advice.
We can come back to that. We can come back to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, easier questions. Easier questions. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. No?
Who cares? Who cares?
I know.
No, I'm kidding.
I don't really
Sorry, Amanda. If these questions don't work, don't blame me.
No, I think they're cool. They're good questions.
How do you feel about putting pineapple on pizza? No.
No, that's my brother's favorite pizza.
It's
I
a
don't.
Hawaiian thing.
It's
Yeah,
not Hawaiian. They call it Hawaiian pizza. We don't even do that.
Yeah, you know what? Like I feel like I'm on like a diet enough where I'm having lots of fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. I'm like, if I'm gonna have a pizza, I don't want any
Yeah.
fruit on it.
I don't want to find out for it.
Oh, I thought there was more. Okay. What is something that a ton of people are obsessed with, but you just don't get the point of? Like something that like is a trend, maybe, I guess.
The fake lips and the fake butts.
Okay.
I don't think that it's that cool to look like that. I don't know.
Because it's super obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I'm not into that.
I think it is a trend that I don't think that cool.
Okay, we got
I have so much.
so
Yeah.
a minute left. One more. My dad didn't like this question the other day when I asked it, but would you rather, so this is a hypothetical, would you rather fight one duck-sized horse, so a duck the size of a horse, or would you rather fight 100 horse-sized ducks? No, duck-sized horses.
I got what you're saying. I would rather fight the one.
Even though that one might be 2,000 pounds? A horse is 2,000 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, I know jiu-jitsu.
2,000 pounds.
I know jiu-jitsu. You know?
That thing can fly, too. I would rather have the high ground and try to stop.
True.
My roommate made a good point where he's like, well, what if it picks me up and then just like tires me out? And I don't know. That's tough.
I think I don't know.